Broadcasting from the studios of WKEN, where every day it's the weekend. It's the Ken Calvert Show with your host, Ken Calvert.
Hi again, everybody. It's Ken Calvert, and welcome to the Ken Calvert Show podcast. And today it's Monday Memories from the Archives. Today I feature B.B. King. We lost B.B. King on May 14, 2015. And from what I can gather, I had to do a lot of work on this, but the best I can do is say that I believe his last concert appears to be October 11, 2014. B.B. King was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame back in 1987 and considered one of the most influential blues musicians of all time, earning the nickname the King of the Blues, and is considered one of the three kings of the blues guitar, alongside Albert and Freddie King. B.B. King was a tireless performer his entire musical career. He appeared, on average, more than 200 concerts a year. Back in 1956 alone, for example, he reportedly appeared at 342 shows. It's not a lot of off time, is it? No, it is not. After serving in World War II, Riley B. King, better known as B.B. King, guess what he did? He became a DJ in Memphis, Tennessee, and the guitarist cut his first record in 1949. Before I was born, before most of us were born, I bet. I think, as I told you, I've gone back and cleaned up and found a ton of old interviews. This one goes back to 1996, live in the studio with B.B. King, and I think you'll get a kick out of how it starts.
Hi there, this is B.B. King. You know the guy that plays the guitar called Lucille? And I want you to know that you're listening to Ken Calvert. He plays and he talks. He does it all. Stay tuned.
Adjectives could not possibly describe the man to my left, the great B.B. King. Sir, welcome.
How are you this morning?
Not bad at all. As a matter of fact, in your history, you spent some time doing some DJ work.
Yes, about 5 or 6 years, I think.
Yeah? Did you enjoy it? Obviously not as much as you enjoyed playing guitar.
No, I did enjoy it. I enjoyed it very much, but when you think in terms of disc jockeys with people today, comparing, I was just a guy sitting behind a microphone. I was no DJ.
They're doing exactly what you're doing with me today. Where does one start with B.B. King? We have to start with asking how Lucille, the guitar, is.
Lucille is fine, taking a beauty rest this morning.
That's a Gibson guitar.
Gibson ES355.
I must ask, there have been more than one Lucille's.
Yes, I'm now playing Lucille the 16th, but I have with me on
royalty, if you will.
On the road, I have with me the 17th one that was given to me on my 70th birthday.
Yes.
And it's kind of special. They went back to the 335 again to try to surprise me, which they did. And it's got my picture imprinted in the body of it, and
there's Lucille nicely done across the top of that bridge. You bet. How do you know when Lucille's worn out and it's time to retire? The wonderful lady.
Well, yes. Well, generally what happens, I play very hard, and I don't usually wear them out. I just wear the lacquer off of the pickups and wear the neck board down a bit. And when I do that, I usually send them back, and they usually let me have another one till that one is ready. And when that happens, guess what? I never send the other one back. So.
Let me see if I've got this right. So, in other words, if B.B. King sends the guitar back, the good folks at Gibson are kind enough I see. I see. As if they wouldn't send you about 250 a day if you wanted as many.
No, they usually just replace it with one, and when they finish that one and refinish it, if you will, I just forgets to send the new one back.
Now, do you ever fool around with an acoustic guitar? Do you ever fool around?
That's all I had in the beginning.
Sure, yeah.
Because
Let's talk about that.
Where I lived, we had no electricity. We didn't have electricity in our home until
you
I
were
was
working
about
on
18.
A cotton plantation.
Yeah, one, yes.
In Mississippi.
Yes.
And
I never heard the word superstar until a few years ago, but I was a superstar tractor driver.
Tell the people that, because that translated into what you did later in the service, correct?
Yes. I was a tractor driver. One of the good ones, because during that time, we were in World War II.
You bet.
So I became 18, and it was mandatory at that time that you not only registered, they decided what group of service that you would go in, or what branch of service, rather, you would go in. So I went in the Army and stayed in there just a bit over 2 months, about 2.5 months almost, and not 3 months like you had to do for normal basic training.
Basic training, sure.
So they let you stay in there 2 months, I think 2 months and 24 days.
They were trying to get troops ready.
Yeah, they got us ready, but they reclassified you and sent you back because we was raising our produce for the armed forces. And so they sent us back, but if the war had gotten worse, then we would have been partially trained already. They would just, reclassify us and bring us back in.
Now, let me ask you
something. If I died tomorrow, I wouldn't get a flag.
What do you mean?
Because it's not documented. In other words, everybody was there for that length of time. And
you were serving your country.
Yes, we were.
In great service to your country.
Yeah, but you didn't do your 3 months like you were supposed to do, and when you didn't do that, it wasn't counted.
You were one on a bus. You've been through those terrible stages of the race divisiveness that we go through. You've had gentlemen point guns at you.
Yes, yes, I have. When we was on our way to Camp Shelby, Mississippi, which is where I was inducted at. Some of the guys, first time ever been away from home, and same with me. As we passed some of the plantations, saw people out chopping cotton or picking cotton, whatever, at that time. Some of the guys were shouting at the pretty girls, and some of them was white. And one of the white men didn't like that at all. So he came on the bus and tried to find out. We was on a Greyhound bus. Tried to find out which one was doing this yelling out because he didn't like it, and he had a shotgun. And I was a scared guy, very afraid.
I believe that, as a wise man once said, silence is gold.
Yes, it was that day.
And that's why every day I got the blues. Most people refer to you as the blues ambassador. You're the one that basically put blues in the forefront. Although there are so many great blues makers out there and new blues makers coming along, who was your influence as a young man?
Lonnie Johnson was the main influence. Lonnie Johnson was acoustic guitarist at the time, blues singer. Some say he was born in the southern parts of Mississippi, and some say the northern parts of Louisiana, so I'm not sure which. But I did get a chance to meet him in Canada just before he died.
Well, why is it that there's always a bit of a mystery in the man singing and talking about the blues?
There was several others. A guy from Texas that was born blind, and he was called Blind Lemon. Blind Lemon Jefferson. That was another one of my mentors.
What about Buddy Guy? What about John Lee Hooker? What about some of the contemporaries of yours? You've had the chance to, quote, jam with these guys.
Oh, well, Buddy Guy, without a doubt, is one of the great guitarists that we have today. And my old friend John Lee Hooker is one of a kind. There's nobody like him.
Well, as are you.
Well,
as are you, sir.
I don't put me in that category.
An interesting part of your story as well, B.B. King, you were actually a bit of a fan of the Hawaiian steel guitar.
Loved it. That's what started me to shake or trill my hand, because my ears say that sounds similar.
It does.
Well, I'm not going to argue with you this morning.
Well, I'm just saying, because you. I think you once said you don't play chords.
Not very well.
Yeah. Well, or is that why you don't play a lot of chords?
No,
you're always working up and down.
Well, you know, I've worked with several bands before I had my own, and they would always put me out front as the lead player. So I never really played chords with the group. Go ahead, BB, take it. It's your time. Take the solo. And it was always single string out front. And I did like a lot of people, a little lazy. I never did just go and practice chords as I should have.
Well, I don't see anything lazy about you, because you're on the road at least 200 dates now in your 70s, 71,
yes,
I believe.
Last year, 95, I did 260 concerts, I think.
And if I'm not mistaken, your theory on that is because if you're out there, they won't forget you.
That's the way I think of it. Yes.
How can a man like B.B. King have any fear or reservations whatsoever about people ever forgetting B.B. King? It's done. Your legacy is written.
Well, thank you. But you just mentioned guys, Buddy Guy, for example, John Lee Hooker, Eric Clapton. You could just name so many, and that could replace me anytime.
Oh, it can't be done. Modesty looks great on you, I got to tell you. You enjoy women, and you have...
love them. Love women.
And I think I'm paraphrasing when I say you once suggested that if you can find something better than a pretty woman, then show it to me, or something close to that.
Yeah, I think whatever God, if God put something around that's prettier or better than ladies, I haven't found it.
You have a number of children. Any of those children interested in playing?
Two of them are interested in the show business part. I have two daughters that sing, but I'm very fortunate that today I have 7 grandchildren that are in college, and 2 of them are studying music.
Fabulous.
One of them is a young lady. She sings, and the other one plays violin. And believe it or not, reads music better than I do.
Somewhere in your background, is there anger? Blues is different. You can have the blues, but is there any anger, any pent-up anger in B.B. King?
No.
Okay.
Do you have a few regrets, but not many.
Do you have to have the blues to sing the blues?
No.
Okay.
There are many that have never had to go through what I've gone through, and many others had to go through, that are great blues players. I used to have a keyboard player that was born in Boston. Mm-hmm. His family is very wealthy, and he played keyboards better than most people I've ever worked with. And blues, I mean real blues. Mm-hmm. Of course, one of his idols was Otis Spann, but you remember that name?
Sure, I do. I remember the name.
But Ron Levy still is a great, great musician today. And I have a bass player with me that was born in Omaha, Nebraska. And he's been with me over 10 years.
You cannot work without a good bass player. You don't want him to be too good, though.
No, I like him to be good. I like him to play rings around me, which he does.
I'm talking about if you're sitting there behind a 4-pack of skins there. I remember being introduced to B.B. King, would have been, 69, 70, 71. I remember the Cook County Jail.
Oh, yes.
And I still to this day love, absolutely adore that session. Do you remember that
very well?
In front of some of the toughest, meanest prisoners that ever walked the face of the earth.
Yes, I remember it very well.
If I'm not mistaken, I remember the woman who comes out and says, on behalf of the warden, now you're going to ask a bunch of prisoners, to say on behalf of the warden, we're proud to present Mr. B.B. King.
Woo!
Yeah. And that's when he just started to kick just a little bit. Yeah. How many albums altogether? Discography, how many albums?
74.
74.
Yes.
Multi-platinum. You do not have to work any longer. If you wanted to, you could buy yourself a small island somewhere and just say, that's it, B.B. King's going to retire.
Well, I wouldn't say the island, but I could. I don't have to do what I'm doing, especially as much as I am.
B.B. King, this obviously is what's making you the happiest, being on the road, playing all the time.
Yes. People mention sometimes, when are you going to retire? And I said, to what? For what? What would I do? I think when you retire, you die. I remember I was on Johnny Carson's show, and I said that, but I didn't really mean die. I meant physically, you find yourself useless.
State of music today. Are you happy with what you're hearing?
Yes, I'm very happy with the state of the blues today. If I was, shall we say, elected to a position as truly an ambassador, I would say to the people, the blues is more popular today than it's been since I've been trying to play it. Still not exactly where I'd like it to be. I want it to become part of the mainstream of music, and we've had several people that have helped to do that. And I would name Stevie Ray Vaughan.
I was going to get to Stevie
Robert
Ray.
Cray. And believe it or not, today, John Lee Hooker, because the people that he's had with him have really promoted blues in a different direction, and that's what I'm very pleased with.
And it appears to me that a lot of the young guitar players out there are leaning more toward the blues. You see more and more young kids.
Well, you would be too young to know about it, but in the 40s, late 30s, early 40s, jazz. Everything was jazz. And it sort of seemed like you was being put down if you was a blues player or something like that. But thank God today, blues is starting to get into that spotlight where people say, yeah, I play blues, and especially young people. And they're not ashamed of it.
Oh, before I let you go, there are a couple of people out there. When I just, we like to play Name the Artist, and you give me your thoughts or opinions. You mentioned Stevie Ray.
Oh, yes. Like a son to me.
A gifted guitar player, and
yes.
taken way too early, but I think he had enough time to leave his legacy.
Oh, he did.
You mentioned one of my other heroes, Eric Clapton.
Yes.
What makes him so special? What's his gift? On the guitar, if I may ask.
He plays everything, and plays it well. Everything.
Uh-huh.
He played blues. He played rock and roll. In fact, in my opinion, he is the number one rock and roll guitarist. But he plays blues better than most of us. He plays anything he wants to well, like George Benson. He don't miss anything. Play it all well.
We had the opportunity, and I'll wrap with this just about, I don't know, a few weeks, months back. Time, all comes together. Les Paul, as a matter of fact.
Ooh. The father, the grandfather.
Mr. B.B. King just went backwards and said, yes, and he had great things to say about you.
Thank you.
And he also still likes to get out there and play once in a while.
Yes, Les Paul, a lot of us owe much to Les Paul. Les Paul was one of the inventors of the reverb and stuff like that people use today. You're probably a little young to know about this. He did this song with his wife, Mary Ford.
You bet.
How High is the Moon? It was just the two of them.
Yes, yeah.
And man, it was.
He told me a great story. We were talking about the dynamics of an electric guitar, and he said that his dad had a Victrola, and he took the arm off the Victrola, and moved his guitar over, his acoustic guitar, and just sort of hit the chords and kind of took the needle off the guitar and got his first chance to hear some music coming through a speaker.
Yes.
And he said, he wasn't the first to really invent the electric guitar, but he said, boy, there's something going on here.
Yes, right.
Something going on here.
Right.
God bless you, B.B. King. It's great to
you.
have you here, sir. Nothing but continued success, and thank you for so many great memories.
You can subscribe to the Ken Calvert Show podcast on Apple iTunes, TuneIn, Stitcher, Spotify, or iHeartRadio. It's also available by going directly to www.thekencalvertshow.com. You can reach Ken at kencalvertpodcast@gmail.com. The preceding program is the property of Ken Calvert and may not be rebroadcast without the written permission of Ken Calvert.